Okay, you guys are not going to believe what just happened to me. I just recorded this whole tutorial. I was really inspired. I was really good. And then I don't know how, but I deleted it. So I will try to recreate everything, and I hope I do as good as a job as I did before. Anyways, enough about that. I just wanted to express some of my frustration. I am going to teach you today how to create these intense red fiery sunsets with Lightroom. So this is the before picture. This is my before, okay, and this is my after. Okay, so in my before picture, my sky is overexposed. I exposed for the sky, and then all the details in the foreground. So in the city, at the Stampede grounds, the leaves, everything is lost. Okay, it's really dark, it's really dull, and then my sky is so bright that you cannot see any of the details. So we're going to recover all these, and we're going to make this a beautiful, intense, crazy, cool picture. Okay, so that's what we're working with, okay? That's straight out of camera. So first I'm going to bring down my highlights, and I'm going to up my shadows, okay? So we are already seeing a bit more details in the sky, and we're seeing more details in the foreground by upping our shadows. Next, we're going to clip our whites. So you're going to hold down your Option key on your Mac and your Alt key on your PC, and you're going to slide your whites to the right until you see a color, okay? So until you clip your whites. Same thing with the blacks, but we're going to go with the left. So you're going to hold down your Option Alt key on your PC, and you're going to slide it to the left. Now, it's about right, okay? Now this photo was taken during sunset, so I want to add more warm tones to the sky and to the overall picture. So I'm going to increase my temperature. I'm going to slide it to the right. See, it's already looking a lot warmer. And then there's also some pink tones that I want to increase. I'm going to go to my tint, and I'm just going to slide it ever so gently to the right. Okay. Now I'm going to increase my clarity. Clarity adds a bit of contrast and details to the photo, so that looks good. And my vibrance. I like playing more with my vibrance than my saturation to the overall picture, because when you increase the saturation to the overall picture, it will oversaturate every color in here, and it'll look very phony. So for example, if I bring it, see, it already looks a bit too crazy, and we don't want that. So we're going to bring it down to about 20. Okay. So that is already looking better. As you can see, that's the before and that's the after. Okay. So next we're going to go to our tone curve. Now we already have a lot of highlights in the sky, so I actually don't want to increase them because it'll overexpose and blow out my sky. I'll lose a lot of details. So if anything, I'll actually go down a little bit, add a bit more contrast and more shadows to the sky. My shadows, I think I'm going to leave alone. If I bring them down, it's going to add more shadows to my foreground, and I actually want to lighten this up. I don't want it to be darker. So I'm actually going to leave my shadows alone. I think that's good enough with the tone curve for now. Now here is where I actually play with my saturation. So this is the HSL color bar. And what I'm going to play with here are my oranges and my yellows, okay? Because my focus is right here with the sunset. This is what's going to make my picture special. So I'm going to go straight into my saturation, and I'm going to increase my orange, and I'm going to increase my yellows. Okay. So you can see the before and the after. Okay. So nice and subtle. My split toning. So this will add color tones to my highlights and to my shadows. So first I'm going to click on my highlights. Now this will definitely impact my sky. And again, because I'm working with that golden hour, that sunset, I'm probably going to add just a hint of orange yellow. Not too much because we already have quite a bit of color on there. But just some. So right about there. That looks good. Okay. My shadows, I don't think that there's anything we need to do there because they're so dark. Maybe we'll add just a tiny bit of blue, just around 9%. Maybe there. Okay. So see the before, that's the before, and that's the after. Okay, it looks a little bit more golden. Sharpening, I do want to sharpen the foreground. I don't want to touch the sky that much, so we're going to sharpen to about 78. And then you're going to hold down, under masking, you're going to hold down your option, Alt on a PC. You're going to click it, you're going to hold it, and you're going to drag it until you mask the only parts that are in white. So for example, that foreground, okay? The sky is just outlined, so that's good. Here you always click on remove chromatic aberrations and then enable profile corrections. Now see, it didn't detect the lens I'm using, so I'm going to manually select it. So I'm going to go to I was using a Nikon, okay, and I was using a 24-120. So maybe you didn't notice anything wrong with the picture, but there's always a little bit of distortion on the lens, regardless of the lens. And so you'll see the before, and that's the after. See, before, after. So it flattened my picture a little bit more. There was a little bit of rounding, and it corrected it. I will add some vignetting, some highlight priority vignetting, because I do want to bring a little bit more of the attention towards the center. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit, not too much, because we already have a lot of intense shadows here. So that looks good. I am going to play with my primary colors because I have this red here that I just want to intensify a little bit. Same thing with my greens. See? So now if you click the before, and that's the after. Just adding a little bit more drama here and there. Let's see with my blues. Will they make much of a difference? Actually, it makes my blues a bit more intense. I like that. It adds a little bit more contrast to my sky. So I'm actually going to slide the blue over to 19, and that looks better. So now we're done with our global adjustments. Let's see our progress so far, before and after. Okay, it's looking so good. You probably think it's finished now, but it isn't. We are going to, first of all, see these little spots here. This is dust on my sensor that my lens picks up. My f-stop was at around, I don't know, 12, 13, but I have a little bit of dust, so we're going to actually fix that. So you're going to come over here to your healing brush, and you're going to click on it. You can control your brush size right here, by the way. I'm going to click on this little guy right here. Click on that little guy. Click on that little guy. And that little guy. And I think there's another little guy. Well, I think it looks good. See? Okay, gone. Easy. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is grab my radial filter, and I'm actually going to make a circle just right over where the sunset is. Okay, right here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to increase my temperature a little bit so I can make that even more fiery and more dramatic. So see, I can slide it to the left and it'll make it blue, but if I slide it ever so gently to the right, it'll make my sunset even more intense. Now, make sure that when you're applying this change, you have clicked off invert mask, because what happens is if you don't have that clicked off, it'll make your entire picture more yellow, okay? I just want the effect to be contained in this part inside the circle. So you have to make sure that you click invert mask. So see, now it contains it right here, which is where I want it. Okay. Next, I want this area to be in more focus, more detail. I want it a little bit brighter because the sunset is very overpowering and there's a lot of darkness going on in my foreground, and I want to bring back some of those details. So I'm going to grab my graduated filter. I'm going to hover over the effect, and I'm going to click option, and then I'm going to click reset. Okay. So then it resets this entire bar so you can start from scratch. Now I'm going to grab my graduated filter and I'm going to pull it down. Hold the shift button if you want it nice and straight, and hold it as you're creating your graduated filter. And I'm going to add clarity. Now you see how it's actually changing the sky and it's not changing the foreground. So simple, you just rotate it and the sky is going to be back to being nice and soft, and now all the details are actually being applied to my foreground. Okay, so my clarity, is there. Perfect. So see, now it looks crisper, it looks sharper, there's more details, it looks a little bit brighter, and I like it better. So we're almost done here. I just want to add a little bit more contrast in the sky. I want to add a little bit more darkness up here in the clouds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another graduated filter. Okay. And I'm going to hold down my shift button, bring it down because I want it nice and even. Just right about there. And I'm going to bring down my exposure just a tad bit. So you see how that's creating a little bit more contrast in the sky. See, it looks a bit more like nighttime. I'm going to bring this up. And maybe bring down my temperature to make it look a little bit bluer. Bring this down. Maybe bring this down a bit more. Okay. Now I think that there's too much junk going on here, so I'm going to actually crop my photo. Because I really just want the Ferris wheel, I want the Scotiabank Saddle Dome, and I like my Calgary Tower, which is very iconic. So I'm going to get rid of all this junk over here. Bring it in. And I'm going to bring this in right here. So this is the end result. I'm very happy with it. This is what we started off with, and this is what we have. So I hope that you learned a lot in this tutorial, how to use all the various tools in Lightroom to make your pictures a lot better and more impactful and colorful. And I'll be posting more, so stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.